Good morning, my name is Brian Beese, and I'm here this morning with Mr. Dreggors and Ryan Smith, and we're doing an oral history interview with Mr. Dreggors, and we're both seniors here at Stetson, and this is an internship we're taking with the American Studies Department, and through this interview we will find out information about the history of DeLand and so forth.
We need to get the date in there too.
You want? Okay. Today's date is April 18th, 1994, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Mr. Dreggors, let's begin with, I guess, your full name and when and where you were born.
My name is William J. It stands for Joshua Dreggors Jr. I was born in DeLand, Florida, June the 30th, 1926.
What are your parents' names?
My dad's name was William J. Dreggors Sr. My mother's name was Lois L. Horn before she married my dad.
How long have they lived in DeLand, or did they live in DeLand?
Yeah, my father was born right across the river in Lake County and came over here when he was 3 years old in 1897. 2 years old, in fact, and came over here. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, and my grandparents all came into that area of Lake County right following the Civil War in 1866. Although one of them had came down to Florida to Marion County around 1855. And they went off and fought in the Civil War, both of them. And both of them are Dreggors. Now my grandmother and my grandfather were first cousins, which was not unusual back then to marry in a country like this was so desolate of people.
Right.
To were marrying cousins, and so both of those, one of them was James Dreggors and the other one was William Dreggors, and they was with Lee when he surrendered at Appomattox, and they walked home from there to Darien County, Georgia, and they packed up and came on down there and settled on the St. Johns River.
Let's see, I noticed through some research we did last week here that you have a brother. Is he still around, living here in DeLand? Or?
Yeah, Jim Dreggors. He's a CPA here. I have two sisters. One's still living here in DeLand, Hildreth, and sister Edwina lives in Orlando. And I have a deceased brother, Joe.
I see.
So what brought your parents and your ancestors to Florida?
What brought them here? Well, when Sherman exited to the sea, he destroyed Darien County. And when they got back there was nothing there for them, and they decided to pack up and come to Florida. Because one of them had already living here anyhow, in Marion County. And I don't know why they chose the St. Johns River area to come to, but they came to Palatka and caught the steamboat from Palatka down to St. Francis, or to Crow's Bluff rather, and got off there. St. Francis wasn't established until 1870, but they homesteaded over in them woods over there.
I see. Do you feel they stayed here because did they have more land, and what were they doing while they were here? What was the type of work they were doing?
They were farmers and citrus grove workers. When my granddad came over here, he went to work for Mr. Stetson. He took care of all his mules and horses and sheep. Mr. Stetson had a lot of sheep because he had a big golf course down here where the HUD project is today, and he grazed the golf course with sheep. That's how he mowed the golf course.
So you feel that they stayed here because of their investment in the land and so forth in their occupation?
Mm-hmm.
Where exactly did they first stay or settle?
They settled over on Spring Creek in Lake County over there. The Spring Creek flows out of Alexander Springs, and they settled on that creek. One of them did, and the other one settled just out in them woods over there, just across the river over here in Lake County.
Can you describe what it was like for them to acquire land as they first got here, and how that happened, and maybe how after they acquired the land, how the progress was made as far as acquiring more land and more trees, how long that took, and maybe how they went through that process?
Well, they homesteaded. They homesteaded property, and they raised everything they used except flour. They didn't raise any wheat, but they raised rice in the bottom of those little lakes, and they raised their own tobacco, and they chewed tobacco because most of them chewed tobacco and then smoked it and chewed it. And the corn, they made grits and meal out of the corn, and They raised their vegetables, and they made whiskey out of the corn also. They raised enough to make their own whiskey. The only thing The other thing they bought at the store, we have a record from the Beersford store, and where my great-grandfather William used to go there, he always bought brandy. Because that was a little smoother than that corn whiskey.
Yeah.
So he'd buy some brandy. But they, my Uncle James, my great-grandfather James finally moved over to Volusia County over here too. And they lived on Indiana Avenue right downtown. And then eventually moved out to DeLand Springs, and that's where they died at out there. But my Uncle William, my great-grandfather William, he died in Lake County.
I see.
And so did his wife as well.
Can you describe a day in the life, what it was like for them when they first got here compared to what it is now, maybe what they had to do, a typical day, so forth?
Well, they got up at crack of dawn, and they always eat, people back then eat a big breakfast.
Right.
I mean, they eat breakfast like you eat dinner in the evening. And they get out and work with their hands and hoes and grubbing hoes and stuff to grub out the stumps and things to get clearing land. And they usually had a mule, and they use that mule to clear land with, to help clear land, so they could plant orange groves.
I see.
And it was hard manual work.
That must have taken a long time.
You worked from can to can't. As soon as you could see in the morning till the evening when it got too dark to work, and you came in.
That was it.
But it was hard manual work, and the women's one that had it hard back then. I'll tell you, I don't know how women survived.
Such as?
Well, they had to take care of the house. They had to wash all the clothes. They had to make their clothes. Most of them had to make them. They had to take care of the children. They'd get out in the field and work. When they hadn't have something to do in the house, they was in the field working with the men.
I understand.
And that was, and washing clothes. It was, I really, I don't know how women survived. Not only in this country, but Western, going out west and all that. They were, as far as I'm concerned, they were a lot tougher than the men ever thought of being.
That's right.
It's a hard life. But they survived it.
It sounds like it.
Thank goodness.
That's right.
As far as the agriculture and the citrus, what kind of markets did they go to, and maybe how did they get their products to the markets?
Well, oranges back then, there wasn't no juice like we have today, concentrated on. All oranges were sold as fresh fruit. And to harvest the oranges, you had to clip each one of them off the tree with a clipper. You couldn't pull it off. You pull it off, it'd rot in the stem. So you had to leave that little piece on there when you clipped it off. And they would have their own little individual packing houses, and they'd go in and take the oranges in, they'd grate them. They'd have a tray there about so long with holes in it. Whichever one of them the orange rolled down, that was the size it was. And they'd pack all of them in that box that size, because it was graded out, and the bigger the oranges, the more they got per box or barrel. In the early days, they were shipped in barrels before the day of the box came along. But they would put them, they would take them out, and after they got through doing that, they'd wash them. And then they'd put them through a coloring process. It was a gas, a poisonous gas actually, that they went through that colored them real bright orange. And when it came out of that, they went to a waxer, and they waxed them and polished them. And they went out and they had little individual pieces of wax paper about yay big. And the name of the company of the fruit packing house was on there about that big. And the ladies would stand there and wrap those things, each orange individually, and pack them in there with that name on it, so you could see it. And then they were shipped out by boat in the early days, and later by train as the train came. And they'd go up to northern markets.
So they would go out of the state?
Yes, most of them went out of the state, went to northern markets. New York, Chicago, Philadelphia.
Without the use of phones and so forth, how would they determine the market price if, you know, they were selling them here for obviously for $4 a box, just say for instance, and they were, unbeknownst to them, and New York people were buying for $14 a box, well, somebody's going to make a quick profit. You know, have any information about how that was, if word just came along, or it was just kind of, it was an honesty trust type thing, or?
Well, they knew from experience about how much fruit would sell for each year.
I see.
They knew approximately what they were going to get an orange. Usually mined about 10 cents an orange.
The market didn't have much fluctuation, I guess, back then, probably.
No, it doesn't do it like it is today. It just stayed pretty steady. In fact, if you look at one of the whiskey jugs down there, they had it marked on that jug, $1.50 a gallon. And that probably stayed that way for years. It probably never changed, and that's the way I'm sure fruit was. Of course, the years that we had freezing and there wasn't any fruit, they probably was more expensive, I'm sure.
Less fruit, exactly. Was the packing house a co-op, or did DeLand have his packing house and some of the smaller guys brought their stuff there? Or how, do you know? Do you have any?
Most of them had their own little individual packing houses
Had their own,
in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
And then they got the large packing houses, and the little fellows would sell sometimes to them, sell the fruit to the smaller, bigger packing houses. But if you had any oranges at all, you had your own packing house.
I see.
There was at least 10 packing houses right in this area here that was pretty good sized packing houses, big packing houses.
Wow.
What can you tell us about some of the workers, I guess, on the orange trees or in the packing houses or things like that? Would they live on your family's land, or would they live on their own little homesteads? Or
Well, they lived wherever they could find housing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, very few of them. The only place that furnished housing and people was the turpentine stills and the sawmills. They had quarters for them because it was desolated out in the woods somewhere that they had to have little shacks, is what they really were for them. But usually the packing houses were in around town, and people just rented houses wherever they could find them to rent.
Did your parents, you say, were they citrus growers also, or was that your great-grandparents?
My dad?
Excuse me, your parents, yes. What was your parents'
My
involvement?
dad was a mechanic, automobile mechanic.
I understand. And back to the oranges, do you have any information, maybe insight on how the changes in the industry with the oranges when the technology was improving and so forth, how that affected them, if they were slower in DeLand, a smaller town, way behind, maybe bigger. I don't know if Orlando was necessarily bigger or so forth, but how that happened, anything about that?
Well, see, this part of Florida was the fruit section of Florida, right straight through, all the way through to Ocala, down to Orlando. That's about as far south in the early days. The fruit was really plentiful.
Didn't have any in the south, huh?
No, there was no fruit down to the south. If there was, it was very minimal.
I see.
Most of the citrus was grown in Central Florida.
And that was it.
And yes, most of the citrus was grown here and across the state, all the way across Micanopy, Orange Lake, all up around Orange Lake, Ocala. Those are big fruit producing places. Till the freeze in '94 and '95, that killed every bit of the fruit in Florida. I mean, it wiped Florida out. There's hardly enough buttonwood left to even start over again, because the freeze in '94, I can remember my grandfather talking about it, the freeze in 1894, it came on, I think, December the 26th, somewhere. It was a real bad freeze, and all the oranges fell off the trees. It killed all the oranges, it ruined them. The leaves shedded off too. You can always tell an orange tree's hurt real bad. If the leaves don't shed off of it, it's dead. That limb is anyhow. If the leaves fall off, the tree's all right. And January was real warm. And January '95 was very warm, and the tree started to bud out. Sap came up, and in the latter part of the middle of February, they had another severe freeze as bad as the one in December. The trees had no protection, no leaves left on them, and the sap was up. And he said it sounded like guns shooting everywhere.
Really?
As the trunks busted, the sap froze and busted. And he says it sounded like a war going on out in the orange groves, busting over.
How did they recover from that? Did they just start over?
Started over. That's when Mr. DeLand lost all his money, because he promised all them people to give him their money back within 2 years if they had to go back north. And a lot of them went back north because they couldn't make a living. They had no way to make a living here. The city bought a shell pit up in DeLeon Springs and started shelling the roads with it to keep some of the people here, give them something to do. But that was a bad time in Florida, that big freeze.
So your family replanted?
My folks didn't own groves; they just worked for other people. They never were grove owners themselves. Of course, it affected them as bad as did anybody else who wasn't on a grove. They had to start. So they had to go out and they grubbed out the old trunks and started over. The trunk wasn't dead down into the ground if it showed any life coming back. It came back on sour stock, and they all had to be rebudded. But most of them were replanted.
Could you discuss after the freeze, John B. Stetson, Henry DeLand was in a little trouble as far as he had to pay people back and so forth with his finances. and John Stetson helped him out. The story about that maybe? Do you have any information about that?
Well, after the
And how that
after the
went?
freeze, there was a bad freeze here in 1885 too, and it took all the fruit off the tree, but there wasn't a second freeze, so it didn't kill the trees. But that's when a lot of the people went back north then. That's when Henry DeLand knew that he couldn't support this city, I mean the university. And John B. Stetson come down here, he had got him to come here, and he'd found this property out there on the Gillian property out there on what's the truck route today, and he bought that and started buying up acreage here to put in orange grove because he liked this area. And he also built Stetson Hall, and Mr. DeLand persuaded him to put a building up there. Well, after that freeze, he persuaded him to come in then and take over the endowment of the school. It was, he reluctantly did it, but he did it because he didn't want to see the school go under. And he built Elizabeth Hall and put the wings on it later, right after he built the first part of it. It was supposed to look like Liberty Hall in Philadelphia. And then he added the wings to it. And the Stetson, of course, endowed it through his hat business. He gave him so much stock every year out of the hat factory, and they drew the dividends off of that, and that's what they were getting their money out of. And of course, he died in 1906 of a stroke, and died in the bathtub out at his house on the truck route. And his wife then married the Count of Eulalie, and they took and endowed the school. They helped build Sampson Hall, they helped build Conrad Hall, they helped build Shadorn Hall. They didn't supply all the money, but they contributed to all three of those. Mr. Stetson just rescued the school.
I see. Sounds interesting.
What can you tell us about your father's occupation? He says the mechanic.
He was when he first got big enough to go to work and all, he was working as a, I guess you'd call him a cab driver today, but really wasn't cab. They drove people all over this country from the big hotel down here, Mr. Stetson's Hotel, the College Arms Hotel. They would drive people to come down here by train. They would want to go someplace, they would drive them all over the state. Usually St. Petersburg or Lake Wales or St. Augustine, where they wanted to go. And he became a mechanic also, because they wasn't here except in the very winter time, so he started doing mechanical work. And in 1916, he went to work for the Burr Oak Crews here. They built the Daytona Road out there, and they laid the brick in downtown DeLand on the streets. And when the war came on, he went into the service and came back out. And he was working in Albany, Georgia, doing the same thing, and that's where he met my mother, and they married and moved back down here. And he went back to work as a mechanic.
I see. Back then, how long did they work before? Was there any retirement type thing, or did you kind of just work till the?
No, there was no retirement. Nobody. Social Security came in the 1930s. They started drawing some Social Security.
Did your mother work also, or was she just?
She did during the war. She worked at Zale Jewelry Store here in DeLand during the war years.
Where did your father work exactly? Did he work in one particular shop, or did he work in
He
several
works
shops?
at GF&M Corporation, a Dodge and Plymouth agency here in DeLand.
He was here in DeLand.
And one time located on the boulevard, and last located on West New York Avenue. He worked on 40 years.
So all your mother did then was work for Zales Jewelry. Other than that, then she was just
She's a housewife.
obviously very busy taking care of the house and so forth.
Could you describe the house that you grew up in, or the property?
I grew up in a lot of houses. We rented houses, and we moved quite regular. And we just didn't move around. Then during the Depression, a lot of that time was, and wasn't much money.
What was it like?
With my grandfather part of the time out at Stetson.
What was it like for your grandparents working on the groves and so forth? Were there a lot of people in DeLand? Was it small? Were the 50 people? Was everybody friends with each other? What was it like, the situation like then, as far as
People everybody knew everybody.
Right.
And you made an agreement with anybody, it was on a handshake. And that meant more than anything in writing would be. You needed the money and you borrowed it from a man, you gave him a handshake to him when you're going to pay it back. And you paid it back.
That's it.
And they never questioned it, they knew you'd give it, you was good for it. But people were a lot different today. There's got to be so many lawyers and everything, everybody got signed contracts now on everything you do.
That's right.
I guess you don't have to have a lawyer anymore to go buy a piece of furniture or anything. You have to have them to check the contract on it.
Seems like
It's
it.
not that way, it wasn't that way back then.
What kind of social organizations were your parents in, if any?
Well, my father was instrumental in starting the Veteran Farm War Post. It started actually in Orange City and moved up to DeLand, but he was instrumental in starting that in Volusia County, and he was very active in the American Legion. So was my mother, and she was active in both of them. And that's about, and my dad was a volunteer fireman for many years. And that's about the only thing they belonged to.
Are they religious?
They were Methodists, yes. They were there. We didn't go to church a lot, but they knew what the word God meant, for sure.
Did they take your family to church on Sundays often? Or?
No, we didn't. We attended once in a while. My dad didn't have a 1 day a week off. He worked 6 days a week, and he liked to fish. Most Sundays he'd go fishing. My mother liked to fish. We'd go fishing somewhere on Sundays most times.
I guess generally you go fishing out in St. John's.
Well, a lot of times we go fish on the coast too, in the rivers over there.
I see. When did DeLand High School start? You were here in DeLand, obviously. I guess you attended DeLand High School.
Yeah. Well, the school, of course, started right after DeLand came here. They started school, I think, about 1878. The first school with Miss Rowena Dean was a teacher up on the corner of Indiana and the Boulevard, where Stetson Flower Shop is now. The second school was over on the corner of Church Street and Amelia. And then they built the first big schoolhouse over on the corner of Church Street and Clara. It was completed in 1898, I think, and it served there for, I guess, up until right around the end of the First World War. And they moved it, they cut it in half and moved half of it back for a manual training place and a band hall, and the other part went down Rich Avenue and became the junior high school. And that big high school served us till they saved it until 1979. A kid went in, poured gasoline all in it and burned it up. But the junior high was replaced just before the war with the present building that the school board uses now. And the other high school was built out here sometime around 1970, somewhere in the late 60s.
When did you start school?
When I was 7 years old at Dempsey Brewster. All the school was located right in that block. The junior high, the grammar school, and there was one other grammar school on the east side of town, Boston Avenue, which is still in use.
What year did you graduate from high school?
1944.
1944. What did you do after high school?
Went in the Navy. I worked as an iceman, and I worked on the railroad a while. I worked out at the glider factory, and then I went in the service. And I come back and went to work at Florida Power. I worked for them for 42 years.
How did you come to work for Florida Power?
Why?
How? How did you end up getting that job? Or what made you?
Well, one of the fellows there that was superintendent was a friend of my father. He had a card, and he told my dad that when I got out of the service, come see him and see if he couldn't put me to work. I did, and I went to work as a meter reader for just a little while, and then went out to line crew as a grunt, and worked out there and worked more. I worked myself up to be line superintendent here.
Back to the schooling real quick. What was a typical day of school like in elementary school for you? Because I'm sure then maybe did they have as many teachers? You had one teacher. What was it like through your whole elementary school here?
Elementary school usually had one teacher for each class. She taught everything.
Right.
Once in a while we'd have a specialty thing, like there was a lady that came in and taught music.
Right.
She'd come around so 1 day a week and she'd teach each class. And other than that, we went to grammar school with the same teacher. Each class had one teacher.
I see.
And when we got over in junior high, then you would move from class to class after that, and a different teacher taught a different subject. And it's always the same in the high school.
Do you remember any experiences that had a great impact on your life? Personal experiences during high school or elementary school? Personal experiences maybe with job or something that had happened that...
Well, I guess one of the best things that ever happened to me in high school was I started taking agriculture at Future Farmers of America. And the peak teacher was Larry Fagan, and he had a great influence on my life. They had a farm out, a 20-acre farm out on a truck route there that we grew vegetables on and stuff and learned to farm. And after I'd been in school 1 year, he made me superintendent of the farm, and
Wow.
I could drive the truck. I had the truck to drive, and I'd done all the plowing for him and all that stuff. And
So this turned into a real job for you then?
yeah, and then I went worked for Winn-Dixie, or wasn't Winn-Dixie then, it was Lovett's.
Uh-huh.
Later became Winn and Lovett, and then it became Winn-Dixie. But I worked for them while I was in high school too.
I see.
As a bag boy and a grocery checker, put her up.
Right.
I guess Mr. Fagan was one of the problems. I went to state as a public speaker, and one of the things that helped me is investing in my life. And my mother made me go to elocution, which I hated with passion. It was one of the best things she ever done for me. Send me to that elocution classes.
Wasn't too much fun then, but you're glad you did it, huh?
That's right. You're right. And it was hard for her to do it because the money was so tight.
Definitely.
What kind of other subjects did you take in junior high, maybe high school?
Subjects?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be truthful, the root of least resistance.
That's it.
No, I took what I had to take. You didn't have much choice of what you took back then. You took whatever. The only thing when you got up towards high school, you could take Spanish or a foreign language, Spanish and French, I think, and Latin was three out of three that they offered. And you could take algebra or geometry if you wanted to, or just regular mathematics.
I see.
And that was about the only choices you had. Elective subjects are you take agriculture, you take home economics. The girls took home economics and the boys took agriculture. A lot of them, everybody didn't. But
Did you play any sports?
I played football. Yeah, we didn't have any other thing. That's the only sport they had. They had basketball. I didn't play basketball. I didn't like it. But that's the only sport they had. They didn't have anything else in.
What position did you play in football?
I played a guard. Yeah, 160 pound guard, soaking wet.
All muddy, huh?
Yeah.
What was it like back then with, I guess it was Stetson University then when you graduated high school, or the perception around DeLand as far as going to college for you and your family, and maybe for other people that lived here? Was it just seemed as maybe some people, only a few went to college, or can you describe what that was like?
Well, some people got to go to college, some didn't. I never thought about going. I had a scholarship at the University of Florida, an agricultural scholarship, but I never pursued it because I got married while I was in the service, and that dictated me to go to work. But some of the boys went to college. A lot of them did. A lot of them did. In fact, our class, I think we had, I don't know, maybe 70 graduates or 75 out of our class that year, and I think all but 5 of them still living, 5 or 6. In fact, we're having our 50th reunion this year.
Wow.
50 years, God, don't seem that long. 50 years
It
ago.
goes by fast, huh?
Yeah, time flies and you're having fun.
That's right.
But I never even, my brother graduated from Stetson, my son graduated from Stetson, my granddaughter graduated from Stetson, and all that.
Never had the desire for college, then got married and
Yeah, went
time to go to work.
Yeah, went to work.
What can you tell us about your experiences in the service?
My experience in service. Well, it was a good experience. I really didn't appreciate it enough until after in the later years of what a wonderful experience it was. I got to see a lot of the country that I never would have seen otherwise. I was on an aircraft carrier, USS Midway, and it was fun. And we had guys on there. There was one fellow that played an accordion, and he sent off to his father and had him send him the accordion. That thing didn't come. He would hold it happened. His dad said, "I'm sending it by Railway Express." And we had docked in New York City, and we went ashore on Liberty and come back, and there that accordion was sitting on the dock. We saw it sitting there, had his name on it, so we just picked up and loaded it on the boat, carried it out to the ship, and carried it on the boat. Railway Express reported lost and sent his father a check for it. He tried to get it back to him. They wouldn't even take the money back. I remember we were down in the Caribbean at night. We'd sit up, it's hot, and down where we were sleeping, we'd sit up on the flight deck. He'd play that accordion on moonlight nights.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty, but there ain't no girls there. We didn't have ladies in the Navy then.
That's
on
right.
ship. It was a fun experience. I really enjoyed it. I was a radar man, and it was unusual, different experience for me. I played third class petty officer. My job was to wake everybody up in the morning. They come by and woke me up, and then my job was to get the rest of them up. And I wasn't very well liked.
No. At least in the morning.
What was
Nope.
it like living on the aircraft carrier? What was it like living on the ship? Was it?
It was good on there. The bunks were, there's layup bunks that laid up in tiers of 3. And I got a top bunk, because I didn't want none of the sick suckers to be throwing up on me, so I got up on the top bunk. And in daytime, you couldn't lower them down. It's just lay down on that steel deck. They had blowers on it, wasn't air conditioning, just air. You lay right in front of one of them suckers on that steel deck. In the day to sleep, if you play pinochle.
Yeah.
Play pinochle all the time. That's all we did. But while we wasn't working, wasn't on watch, we played pinochle. What was the experience?
How long were you in the service?
Well, I went in January of 44 and I got out in 46 from the war, I mean June of 46, something like that. It was fun. It was really experience. Some of the things that I did, I don't know how I survived. I mean, I wasn't scared to go anywhere. I'd get to New York and I'd get on a trolley. I mean, one of them things. I'd go up to Bronx and Queens, and I didn't know where I was at.
Cruise
And
around.
it'd be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd be walking the street trying to find a way to get back. And nobody ever found me. I wouldn't walk up there today for nothing. I wouldn't survive probably for 10 minutes. Same way in Boston.
Wow.
I was in Boston on VJ Day. Never seen nothing like that in my life. Never will again. What a 3 days of solid celebrations. It's something. Went to Bainbridge, Maryland for boot camp, and the first time I'd ever seen snow in my life. Got off that train, it was snow piled high as the ceiling here, and cold, God, no. I like froze to death. But it was fun. It was a good experience.
What was immediately after the service, after you came home, then? Was that when you went and worked for the Florida Power and Light Company?
No, Florida Power Corporation.
Florida Power Corporation.
Not Power and Light.
I understand.
2 different companies.
Yes, sir.
No, I went to work for them as soon as I got home.
Excellent.
How did you meet your wife?
Pardon?
How did you meet your wife?
I met her in school here. Her daddy was section foreman on the railroad out here. And she came to school here in the 9th grade, I think it was. She came here. And I met her there at school.
You should talk about.
When I was a senior. I meet her a lot as a senior. She finished up school after we married. Because I was gone anyhow. I was in service.
What was your wedding like?
Pardon?
What was your wedding like?
We eloped. I
Ah.
went to Bainbridge, Georgia and got married. That's just back then, you couldn't get married in Florida without a 3-day wait. And her daddy was working up in Bainbridge, Georgia on a temporary assignment. He was telling about all the people come there and got married. So we went and got married.
What were some of the things you did as a kid in comparison to what your children did when they were in elementary school for hobbies or fun or entertainment? Was it basically the same thing, or do you feel?
No, life was much different.
Right.
Yeah, when we was kids, we all had slingshots. We'd shoot anything we could see with it. But the one thing I had to do, my dad said, you can kill anything you want to except a mockingbird and a redbird. You can't kill no mockingbird and no redbird. But anything else you kill, you bring home and we eat it. There wasn't no shooting one, leaving it, just killing it for nothing. But so I eat blue jays and everything else, woodpeckers and anything else we could kill, we brought home and eat it.
Yeah.
And in the spring of the year, when the China bears were ripe, we made them pop guns. And suckers would draw a blister on you when it hit you. And of course, we'd have wars with them, and kids playing. And then we made rubber guns out of old inner tubes. And, we'd have wars with them things with the kids growing up. When I grew up, part of my life growing up was out Stetson, out there west of town out there, Mr. Stetson's property where my granddaddy lived when I was real small. And then the rest of the time, most of the time I grew up out of right where I live now. And the Stetson Gator Pit was down there where the Stetson house was, and we played in those a lot down there. That was a fun place to play. It was full of frogs and stuff. We
Yeah.
shooting frog wrestling shots. We'd dig up all the old street light cable there was over in them woods that was put in there during the boom in the 20th. And we'd unwrap all that metal off of them and all that old kite off of them, and take knives and cut the lead off of them, and we'd melt the lead and pour it into little holes in the ground, and then we'd chop it up little pieces about that. And it takes 2 days. We'd shoot it up in the slingshots in about 2 hours. It'd be gone, and that worked out fine till one of my cousin poured some of that lead on his foot, and that ended that. So the dad said, no more lead melting. That ended the lead melting.
It didn't go over so well, huh? Kill him lead on his
So
foot.
he didn't like that too much. No.
Yeah, lead foot.
Yeah. It burned him pretty bad.
I believe it.
So we didn't do that no more. But growing up here on Saturdays was movie day. I got to go to the show on Saturday afternoon. That was when a double feature cowboy show was on. Tom Mix or Roy Rogers or Gene Officer or Charles Starrett or Buck Jones and Ken Maynard and all of them. You don't know all them good fellas. But they was our heroes. They always had a serial that played that usually run about 10 or 12 sessions. It lasted about 5 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, something. Didn't last long. And they'd always leave the hero just no way he could survive. Next week he'd get out of it and he'd have another perilous experience. But that was something we looked forward to. It cost us 9 cents to get in the picture show. Didn't charge a dime, because to charge a dime they'd have to pay state tax, entertainment
I
tax.
see.
So we got in for 9 cents. And,
No tax.
but we went every Saturday afternoon. That was a ritual.
Did you go to the Athens?
No, went to Drika, the Drika Theater. The Drika Theater was located down where Orange Belt Pharmacy is now, on East New York Avenue. That was the B movie theater. Athens was the A movies. But they was owned by the same company. Sparks Theaters owned both of them. But all the cowboy pictures played down there in the B movies. But
What would Athens Theater charge then for the A movies?
same night, they're same price. Either place 9
I
cents.
see.
And I don't know. I think the adults were something like 20 cents or a quarter. I'm not sure at that time. I can't remember what they paid because I didn't have to pay it.
Right.
And you'd get a great big old box of popcorn for a nickel. And then the Drika Theater, you had to sit there with your feet up in the seat because the rats were so bad in there. They'd be all over the place picking up popcorn. They wouldn't bother you; they just run across your feet. So you'd pick it, you'd sit there with your feet up in the seat. You could hear them sort of running all over the floor down there, trying to get away.
I see.
They was hunting that old popcorn or piece of candy or something. That was some theater. It was fun. It was good. The kids used to come in and they'd bring rubber bands and they'd put them little wire staples that you nail in there, not the staple gun tape. And they'd take them things and shoot them up against the screen and see how many they could make a stick in there. If it hit just right, of course, it'd stick. But if it didn't hit just right, it'd bounce off. And we were doing that one day, and one of the boys got one of them bounced back and come back far enough. He came right down and blinded him in that eye, and so that ended the rubber guns and the staples. That was the end of that.
Tragedies on the end of like fun each time, huh?
Tragedies end all the fun.
That's right.
Yeah. And we had a lot of fun growing up. We'd be out at night, we'd walk downtown, walk home, all us kids, nobody ever bothered us. Fact is that everybody looked after each other's children. If you done something wrong, I guarantee you, your daddy and mom would find out about it immediately.
Big trouble.
And then you'd be in big trouble. You'd get the end of a belt, but good.
So it was a pretty close community then.
Oh yeah, it was a very close community. And we had a lot of people that only stayed down in the wintertime. They just came down for the winter months, and they usually come down about the 1st of December and then go back about the last of March, go back north. Orange City would just about be deserted this wintertime. There was hardly anybody in Orange City in the summer, because all of them were mostly tourist people that come down and stay just during the winter months. They used to say they came down with a clean shirt and a $10 bill and didn't change either one of them while they was here.
Where do they come from mostly?
Most of them out of the northern states, New England and New York State, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area.
Are they just coming to get out of the cold?
Yeah. They had enough money they could afford to have a house down here, and some of them in apartments, some of them stayed in the hotels. They stayed in the College Arm Putnam Hotel, and they had quartered there for the whole winter. And go back north. Some of them came down private railroad cars. and they'd drop them off down here where the College Arms Towers is now. And they'd, the cars would sit there while they were staying at the hotel, and then they'd get ready to go back, or go on. Sometimes they'd go on down further toward St. Pete or something. But the hotel operated from December to March, through March.
Would they run their businesses while they were down here, or what would they do while they were here? Just vacation for?
They just vacation. They'd sit around the porch and smoke cigars. And some of them played shuffleboard and lawn bowling and croquet and stuff like that. But they had made their money. Somebody else would either run the business, they'd sold it, one of the two, because they'd made their money.
Come down to relax.
Come down here and enjoy. And some of them fished. They'd come down here and go fishing. Some of them come down and go hunting. This used to be a wonderful hunting country. And fishing. It's unfortunate that neither one of them is that good anymore. The river is not like it used to be at all. It's polluted to a point. It's got a lot of sediment in the bottom, and it just doesn't fish like it used to. And the hunting is almost non-existent except over near Lake County where you hunt deer, but this used to be the best quail hunting country in the world. There wasn't no place any better quail hunting than around Central Florida. But it's no longer, it's too grown up, too thick, and too many people.
That leads me to my next question about the hunting I was going to ask. Was there a hunting season back then, or did you just kind of hunt year round for deer?
The season started back in the 20s. They put hunting seasons in.
I see.
And put a amount of game you could kill on and all that. Prior to that, everybody hunted when they wanted to.
I see. Did you and your father and maybe your brothers go out hunting sometimes for deer, then I guess throw the meat in the ice box, or?
Well, my dad never was a deer hunter. He didn't care about hunting deer. That's too much sitting around waiting on dogs and deer. So he liked the quail hunt, he liked the dove hunt, he liked the squirrel hunt.
I see.
And we did that quite all during the winter months.
I see.
We killed a lot of quail, a lot of dove, and rabbits. That was
Rabbits.
fed us.
Uh-huh.
During the Depression, we lived a lot on Hoover chickens. You know what Hoover chicken is?
No.
That's a gopher, land tortoise. That's so protected now you don't even dare look at one. It puts you in jail.
That's right.
Well, we lived on those things about during the Depression. That was one of our staple meats.
I see.
We'd go out in the afternoon. In summertime, all the places in DeLand closed on Wednesday afternoon at 12 o'clock. And everybody went fishing or something, or worked at home, but everything closed. But they didn't. That's the only time they closed, except on Sunday. And he had a hook made up that was made out of the ring around a set of bed springs, the outer edge of it. Then take those things and then bend a little sharp hook right in the end of it. Put it on a wooden board in the handle, and then ram that thing down a gopher hole. Twist that thing around, they hook that gopher in the hole and pull that sucker right out of it. Tickled me today. They pay these people, what, $2,500 to dig up one gopher and move him because if we won't destroy him, or however much it is, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because they have to just dig him up and everything to be careful they don't kill him. You take one fella, one of them hooks, you pull every one of them an acre of ground in 2 hours. And don't hurt him either. Don't hurt a gopher. Because you hook him out in that shell and just pull him out there.
Did your mother do most of the cooking?
She did it all. She was an excellent cook. The only thing she didn't like was if you didn't eat. She wanted you to eat a lot if she was going to cook it.
She spent all the time cooking, and you better sit down and eat.
You better enjoy it. And if you're good, if you like to eat, she was from Georgia. She was from Georgia, and she knew how to cook. She's a good cook. We go out and pick huckleberries and blueberries in the spring of the year, out in the woods out in west of here, out west of town. They'd burn them off, and the wood burned every year.
Right.
There wasn't no not burning the woods. The worst thing they ever did in Florida was stop the burning of the woods, as far as I'm concerned, because let all that brush grow up, and no quail habitat left, and let the old oak tree scrub take over the whole world. And they'd burn off, and the first thing came back was huckleberries. That's the first thing that came up. And the blueberries would be there the next year. And the woods would be blue with them, and the huckleberries would be black, and you'd go out and pick those things.
Wow.
You beat the rattlesnakes out of the way because they'd be in there looking for birds to come in there. And But that's, man, that was good eating.
Where'd your mother learn to cook?
Where? From her mother. My mother and my grandmother ran a boarding house up in Georgia. That's where my dad met her. He was boarding at the boarding house where my mother lived.
What was it like when you worked for the Florida Power Company and you started out? Was there a lot of training, and then what was it like moving through the ranks? I know you moved up to the...
The only training you got was watching the fella do it, and he'd show you how to do it, and you get some tools, and buy you a set of tools, and you just go out and start climbing. And
Just do what he does.
when they got a job open, you bid on it, because it was all union, and you bid on the job.
Were there a lot of accidents as far as like
No,
high power lines?
not that many. There was some. Once in a while somebody get burned or somebody get killed. I got burned in 1953. That's how I lost part of my hand.
Wow.
4,800 volts went in this hand, came out this one.
It's terrible.
What about your children? When did you have your children? And how many?
I have one son. He was born in 1950. It's Wayne Dreggors. He's the administrator for Act Corporation in Volusia County and Flagler County. He has two daughters. One of them graduated from Stetson, and she's married and lives in Orlando. And then my second granddaughter, she's a senior at Stetson this year. And Wayne's wife works at, Leah works at the West Volusia Hospital in the baby section. Got a name for it, I can't know what it is, but she works in the baby section.
Wow.
She's kind of a secretary up there. He's, yeah. I can't think how old them girls are, but that's how where they at in school. It's hard for me to remember names, the dates.
Are they thinking about having children also, or?
I have no idea.
But as of now, they don't have any. Huh?
My oldest granddaughter, they haven't been married very long.
And how old is she? Oh, yeah. Excuse me.
She's been out of college over here for 2 years. So.
I see.
Our old
Early,
lady.
early 20s.
Yeah, she just had a birthday.
When did your son start going to school? At what age?
There's 7. That's the age that you start in Florida. If your 7th birthday, it will be within a certain length of time after the, I think within 2 months or something. It used to be that after school starts, you can start at 6 that you're supposed to be 7 years old. It used to be, I don't know what they start them at now. They start them about 2 or 3 years old, but then it was 7.
So then did he graduate from DeLand High?
Yep. Then Stetson spent 1 year at Duke, and then came back and got his master's at Stetson in counseling.
Have any of these stores on the strip here in Woodland Boulevard, were any of those stores around when you were younger in high school or maybe after graduation?
Robinson Clark Furniture was there, and then the Hoy's Jewelry Store was there. And I don't think Gibbs was there. Don't think any of the rest of them was on the boulevard, and that's the only ones I can think right off the top of my head that were there back during the war years here and there.
Is Mr. Clark a native DeLand? Because I know he's been here for a while. Did he come down here? Do you know anything?
Came here, I believe. I won't swear to it, but I don't think he was born here.
I see. He seems like he's still in the tradition as far as watch out for each other in the early days of DeLand.
Oh,
when you go over there and talk to him, he's like he's there to help you out.
He sure is. Nice man.
Yes, sir.
Nice family. We got back in, of course, till after the war, there were no shopping centers and such. Everything was downtown.
Right.
There was 4 or 5 grocery stores right downtown, and they stayed open till 6 o'clock every day, and then on Saturday they stayed open till 10 o'clock at night. And the other stores stayed open till 9 on Saturday night, and everybody went to town on Saturday night. That was just a ritual. You went to town, and you had your own parking place down there, and nobody better not park in it because they'd ask them to move if they did. Because if somebody wanted to see you, they knew right where you was at, and they'd come looking for you there. But you'd go home when you got through downtown, when the stores closed up, we'd go home and listen to the Grand Ole Opry then till we went to sleep. We did have a radio. There was a lot of static on it, but we had a radio.
Had a radio.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you tell us about your house? One of your first houses, I guess, that you lived in with your wife, or where you all lived right after you got married?
My wife and I,
Yes.
we lived in an apartment here. We built the house where I'm living now. We built it in pieces. I cut the pine trees off of it and carried it over to a sawmill and sawed them up in lumber. My wife and my uncle mainly built it, the two of them. And I worked on Saturdays and Sunday afternoons. And they put most of the structure up, and then it was real small, and then we added to it in years, and it's big enough for us now.
Sick.
That was right next door where my folks lived at. My dad bought 5 acres there from my aunt, or from my uncle, and I helped pay for it with money I sent from the service. So I got an acre of that land, and I got out of the service, and we built a house down there.
Is your folks' place still there?
No, it burned. The house the lady that owned it and built another one in place of it. But it was I tell you, children today don't have the pleasures in life that we had. We had radios to listen to. We listened to the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet and the Inner Sanctum and stuff like that. It was Sunday. When 5 o'clock come, you didn't find a child no place because it was all in there listening to one of those serials on Lone Ranger or somebody. Everybody just disappeared because they knew it was 5 o'clock time for the radio program. And all had to listen to them. About as bad as they do now with television. Or worse, like I guess today. But anyhow, radios were not, and everybody didn't have one. There was just a few people had radios. And a lot of people go to folks' houses just to get to listen to the radio. But it was different. I can promise you. But I wouldn't trade it. I really am glad I'm as old as I am, that I lived in that time. I always envied my father. My father seen, at the time, he seen the automobile come in. He seen the airplanes come. He seen the man go to the moon in his lifetime. Probably more happened in that span of time than had happened in the history of the world.
Right.
Right in that one little short time of his life.
How did he react to all the new things coming up?
My dad?
Yes.
He just took it as a matter of course. He used to say when the automobiles would come out, and after the war they'd have automatic transmission stuff, and he said, there ain't nothing new coming out. So they've had these things back when they first invented automobiles. Model T Ford had an automatic transmission in it. And it's just different, it's the same principle.
Right.
And he said everything they put on cars, we had them before, and they were just too far ahead of their time. The old DeSoto, in the 30s they built a DeSoto with a streamlined thing. You don't want to run up the back of it over it. Never was popular because it just wasn't that boxy look that people were used to. It was ahead of its time.
Just like those Tucker automobiles that Tucker came out with.
Right.
Had everything the cars have today.
Yep. They were just ahead of their time and people wouldn't accept them.
That's right.
And it's hard to make change. I know working out here on the power lines, they'd come out with a new piece of material. Well, that thing wasn't going to work. It's going to be too aggravating and all that. You just hate it. And pretty soon you get using it. Gosh, you wouldn't go back to the old one for nothing.
That's right.
But people just don't like change. If they
tough.
get used to something, they want to change.
Learn something new.
That's right. It's hard to break old habits. And you just don't do it.
Can you talk about how the power industry changed while you were in it and what you saw change there throughout the years?
Changed tremendously. Well, the biggest change, I guess, in the working part of it was the invention of the bucket truck. That you don't have to climb poles with hooks no more hardly. That's some of these guys I don't think could probably get up one down. They get up and down because they have to go to school. But today we didn't have no school back then. You just learned the hard way. But the bucket truck has made a tremendous difference in working. It's speeded up the job so much.
Right.
Working off a pole, you can't work on 7200 with rubber gloves because it's too much voltage. That's what these lines are today. It's all, they're 12, called 12 kV, 7,200 grams each one of them. And you can't work with gloves on it, but you can work on a bucket truck. And that's made a tremendous difference in the work and the way we work. But the company right now in the last year started this reorganization, and it's just unbelievable what they've done to the workforce. And maybe it was overloaded, I don't know. It's hard for me to say sitting on the outside now. I'm just glad I retired when I was able to retire when I did and got out of it, because it has made so much change in the company.
You mentioned the union before. Can you tell us about that? Did people accept the union, or was it not that big of a deal, or was it maybe controversial? Or?
No, it's not ever been that controversial. In fact, the companies, they like a union because they just deal with, everybody gets the same. You know, you're dealing with one little group instead of dealing with 1,000 people individually. It's hard enough to deal with the non-union people individual, and that's the way they went. I mean, not as a group. All the line clerks didn't get the same money, all the foremen didn't get the same money. Everybody outside the union was based on individual performance. And you can imagine going out here trying to give individual performances to 2,000 or 3,000 people. And it's hard to do to begin with, so the company was, they have no dislike for the union, because it's a good thing really. And it protects the men in a lot of ways and a lot of things they can't do. And after all, Florida Power does own the company.
Right.
And you're working for them. That's where the salary comes from. So you're not working for the union. That's just an organization that kind of gives you a bargaining position and with your other benefits.
Do you feel that you benefited overall from the union?
Oh yes, yes. The union is fine as long as they don't think that they will own the company and the tail starts wagging the dog.
Right.
That's when they become bad. The concept of the union when it started was wonderful, but it got out of hand.
Were you ever involved or around a strike while you were with the?
No, we never had entered our mind. Florida Power and Light struck 2 or 3 times, but we never did.
Did you see any problems here in DeLand with any other types of unions or anything like that?
No. No.
So what can you tell us about your retirement? When did you decide to retire?
I decided to retire a long time ago, but I couldn't. I wasn't old enough.
I see.
So I retired at 62 years old. On my birthday, in fact, I retired. And
what made you decide to retire from the business?
because I wanted to do what I'm doing now.
Yes.
I'd already started a company, very liberal to me. When I guess for more than the last 3 years I worked, they let me go out and do these programs for the children's school children. It was good public relations for them, and I enjoyed doing it. I went to school. I went to the schools and places and give little talks and speeches, and they were glad to let me do it. And so I wanted to get retired so I could do it full time. And I didn't want to do it this full time as I'm doing it probably, but it's turned into a full-time job. And I never worked as many hours probably in my life as I work now. For free too at that, but it's all right. I could quit if I didn't like it. I quit, but as long as it's of use to somebody, I'll be glad to do it. As long as I'm able to do it.
When did you join the Historical Society?
I joined it in 1976 when the bicentennial was going on, and we published a book called Reflections. I wrote one of the articles that's in it, and on the power company. And then it decided, disbanded about 2 years. I was elected president 1 year, but in 77 I think it was, and then they disbanded about a year and a half after that. There was just nothing going on, and it just kind of died out. It was 1983, I think, or 86. 83, 86, I can't remember which now. We decided to rejuvenate it. And we held a meeting and started to rejuvenate it, and got the charter back with the state, and moved on from there to where we are now. Mr. and Miss Conrad give us this building and give it to the city and the county, and the sale of the other books we started publishing, the Volusia, the West Side, in '86. We published Pictorial History of Volusia County in '90, I believe it was, and since then we reprinted Helen DeLand's book, History of Lake Helen and DeLand, and then we printed this last book we done. We finished it. It came out in November. It's the Century of West Volusia from 1860 to 1960. Those books gave us enough money to help us get where we're at too. So it's with a lot of donations, the city and the county's money, and the Historical Society and the Conrads, we've got a place here now that I think the city of DeLand can be proud of.
And you're serving now as a curator?
I'm serving now as a curator.
And you have served as the president?
I was president for 3 years. This time, and it won long before it disbanded the first time, president for a year.
How long did it take after they, and maybe when they came back, the city or the county came back to DeLand House when there were college students living in it and it was a mess and so forth, and they fixed it up? When did that happen? And how long did it take to fix the house back up to the state that it is now?
Well, Conrad bought it in July of 1988, gave it to the city. And there was apartments, and there was 2 people living here, one student and a lady that kind of looked after the house, was living downstairs. And then they stayed in here until December when the boy got out of school. And January the city started putting out a contract to do part of the work on the house. There was buildings on the back, 2 kitchens from the upstairs on the back of the house that we took off and got rid of them and opened the house back up. And we started on it, I guess, in the spring of '89, and we opened the house in December of 1990.
Wow. Didn't take that long.
Seemed like forever. The worst part of it was getting the wallpaper off the walls. And 5 layers of wallpaper on these walls. And the last one was a plastic one. And to get water down in it to where to get it off, we had to take a putty knife and cut it on the edge and just scrape it up and down and put water on it and scrape, put water on it, scrape. And I will tell you, if I hadn't committed to do this thing, I'd have quit several times. There wasn't no way I could quit.
A lot of work.
A lot of work. It sure was. But it's worth it now. It's over with. It's worth it.
That's right. That's nice.
How did you acquire all the furniture and the pieces in the house? Was it gradually, piece by piece? Or?
Yeah, well, Miss Conrad gave quite a bit of this stuff out of his sister's home up in Monticello. Mr. Conrad's sister died up there, and she was an antique dealer and had a big antebellum type house up there. And some of the furniture came from there. Mr. Conrad donated it. And then Virginia Kepler donated the front bedroom suites up there. And Evangeline Crum donated the dining room table, which is the finest piece of furniture in the house. And just a lot of donate. We bought a little bit of stuff, but not very much. But most of the stuff we had to have refinished and reupholstered. That cost us a lot of money. Historical Society paid for that out of the book money. The county gave us $2,500 to help with the restoration, and the city put out this contract here was $40,000 that they put in cash, plus they helped a lot with the labor on different things here, parking lot, so forth. So we've had a great cooperation out of both the county and the city.
That's excellent.
It is excellent. And the community is, DeLand is a very caring community. As you can look at Freedom Playground that the community pitched in and built. They're now doing the community's really doing the airport restoration of that old house out there for a museum. They have, this is a very cooperating community, and they do a lot of things together. And I'm proud to live here. I really am. I envy people. I don't find many natives. Like every time I do this program or something somewhere, I ask how many people are native to DeLand. Nobody, hardly ever, rarely, once in a while. But most, and there may be 1 or 2 from Florida, but most of them are transplants.
Yeah.
And I tell them I envy them, because they could have went any place in the world they wanted to go, but they chose to come to DeLand. So that makes me think this must be a wonderful place to live, because they came here.
Yeah.
And I was born here, I didn't have no choice. I mean, that's where I went to, so, but I do, I envy people who come here of their own accord. It makes me think, boy, we got a wonderful town here. People come here and stay here.
That's right.